Hey, what's going on, movie lovers? Shut Up, I Like This podcast where we talk about how much we like movies and we don't shit on everything.
Yeah.
I'm Jeff,
I'm Kyle.
as usual, every week.
Haven't changed.
I haven't changed at all. This week is a first for me. I had not seen it before.
Yeah, we kind of pass off movies, like you recommend one and then I'll recommend one and we'll just go. Sometimes we've seen them, sometimes each of us haven't. It's interesting. So I threw out John Carter as a movie that I really liked and you hadn't seen it. And so this was your first opportunity and I'm really curious. I think you liked it.
Yeah,
We're here, so you must have not hated it.
I remember when it came out, I'd
Yeah.
always wanted to see it, and it's one of those things I never got to. And then, being forced to watch it, like, well, we're doing it for the show. I'm like,
Okay.
all right, yeah, let's do it. And then, I watched it earlier today. I watched it on Fandango, and I had to pause a couple of times because of the kids, but for the most part, I sat through the whole thing, watched it, and I really enjoyed it. It was just a fun sci-fi adventure, action adventure. It had everything.
I know, I think it hits upon some genres that don't really get touched upon too often. There's like a mix of like 1800s period piece at the beginning, and then it's almost kind of a Western
Yeah.
a little bit with like cowboys and Indians, and then like those themes overlap when you go to Mars, and then it turns more into kind of like sci-fi, but it's not like Matrixy.
It's like tribes and aliens and
It's
spears and
it's still a reflection of the cowboys and Indians
Right,
Civil
right,
War
right.
kind of theme, only on Mars, and so done with a little bit of an alien twist to it, almost Roman Gladiator in parts too, like where they fight in the Coliseum and stuff. And
Star Wars.
Star Wars, we'll get to all of that here in a little bit too.
Yeah, I had a blast with it. I couldn't believe that we were able to do this. Like I said, I always wanted to see it, and then I sat down and I watched it today, and it's just a mix of everything. And then before we get started, before we do anything, I just want to say that I fucking like Taylor Kitsch.
Yeah, that was a big point for me too. That I'm a really big Taylor Kitsch fan.
I think he does great.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know what
we had a small conversation. We ran into each other at the grocery store about Taylor Kitsch the other day to get ready for this podcast, and it was like they gave him a couple big franchises and they didn't work out. But it's not his fault that they didn't work out.
Right.
They were just not the best. I mean, I like John Carter, but it didn't catch on with everyone. And then he was in Battleship that came out the same year. I didn't give a fuck about Battleship. I've never seen that film. So he had like two big back-to-back like bombs at the box office. Then he was in what? Wolverine?
Yeah, he's in
like
X-Men Origins.
like the worst Wolverine film.
Where I first saw him, and actually his first film is The Covenant.
Okay.
I want to say 2008. With like Stephen Strait. It's like
I think that was around
like
2008.
a bunch of dudes. It's like witchcraft, and they have long family trees and stuff. But he's the reason. When I saw that film, I wanted long hair. I wanted to have long hair.
Taylor
And
Kitsch.
he had the cool cutoff and shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want that. And then here I am now. I wear cutoffs and have long hair. But it's just funny seeing him now. Not even now, 2012. I'm like, that's weird. Like within 4 years, he goes from The Covenant to John Carter.
Yeah, like he was like they positioned him.
Yeah.
They tried to position him to be like the next big star. And
I think he's got it.
he's got it. Wasn't. It's not his fault that those movies didn't.
It looked like he worked hard for John Carter.
I thought
he
he
was in shape.
I thought he was really enjoyable in John Carter.
good.
I've never seen Battlefield,
Battleship.
or Battleship. See, I can't even get the name of it right. But that movie was destined. That was a bad idea for a film.
Yeah, I never saw it either.
Yeah.
I knew Neeson's in it. Rihanna's in it.
Yeah, and then that came out at the same time as like the Bayformers, Transformers films, and
Okay.
it all just felt like mushed together. Like I can live my life without seeing
I think the best thing, we're just going to do an hour on Taylor Kitsch.
Taylor Kitsch. Yeah.
the best.
How often do we get to talk about him? Not too often. So indulge, Jeff.
The best thing I've seen him in was the Mark Wahlberg movie Lone Survivor.
I haven't
that.
caught that one yet.
I thought he was fucking good. He was really good in that film. I wish he had. Seeing this and then seeing stupid stuff like The Covenant.
I know, like
I just wish he had.
you want to see him get like a second shot because
Yeah,
you know
for
he
sure.
can. You know he's got the chops to do it, and I think he's enjoyable in it.
Yeah.
Like I liked him as Gambit, and
Yeah, he did fine.
yeah, like I know that film is probably like the worst of the Wolverine films,
Oh yeah.
but that's
Oh,
not that's not his fault. Like he was enjoyable. I liked that scene.
Yeah, I
like
when
the
he
Gambit.
picks up all the cards and
Yeah.
shoots them and shit.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think
he
it's
does
cool.
fine.
Like, I would.
Yeah.
I'm on board for him getting another shot to do whatever,
Okay.
man. Like,
while we're thinking about it and while we're talking, think about Marvel or DC for Taylor Kitsch.
Lobo.
And then where? and then what character you want to be?
sure.
Is that your answer?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's what came to mind because of the hair right away,
Right,
like
right,
Lobo. But
I got that too.
yeah.
Let's let this bad boy down. So let's get into first experiences. You go ahead and go first because you probably have a
seen
better
it
one.
in a near empty theater. It was in Fort Dodge. I think I went like opening weekend or the week after, and it was just like me and 3 other people
Really?
in the whole theater, just dead as could be. And you kind of knew then, even living in Iowa, like when you see a movie opening weekend or close to it, usually they're packed, and usually you can tell right away, like, oh, this is not a good start for this franchise. And I remember that John Carter got to a slow start, and then it kind of word of mouth kind of helped it like pick up traction.
Yeah.
Like it didn't make anywhere near what it should have at the box office, but it like picked up a little bit when people were like, "Nah, Jeff, you should go see this film."
Kind of like with, dare I say, Justice League.
Yeah, and I always thought that was really cool. That like there was like a little bit of like old school word of mouth.
Yeah.
Hey, this movie's good. You should go see it. I remember there was a big to do about how they fucked up the marketing. Like I remember how there was a lot of people that were saying like, you know, back in the old days you could like fuck up the marketing in a territory, you know, because movies weren't like worldwide, like they would like release in like a region, and so like if you fucked it up in one region you could like fix it for when you released it from like if it premiered in LA and it didn't do good, you could fix it for like the New York market and stuff like that. And I remember like the big comparison was like, if you could have done that, you probably could have saved John Carter, but because it's like we're 2012, we're worldwide, we're social media, you blow it, it's done, it's over with. Word of mouth could only saved it for like so much, and so that's kind of what I remember about the release of the film.
Fucking social media.
Yeah. Yep.
No, that's shitty.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember seeing the posters. I remember wanting to see it. This was about the time that I was with someone whose parents owned the theater. I was going to go free stuff all the time. I want to go see John Carter. Missed it. I'm like, okay, maybe when we get back to town, we'll go see it. Missed it. Maybe we'll get out of Redbox. Missed it.
kept
I just
missing
kept
it.
kept missing it. And then kind of forgot about it. And then until now, you're like, you got any suggestions? And you're like, John Carter. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm down.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what I said. I'm like, I'm in, I'm down. And you're like, okay, do you want it? I'm down. And I was all excited to watch it. And so I just watched it today. And I had a blast with it.
Good.
It's kind of, I like the opening, that old school kind of narration, kind of gets you into it. And then just the combination of all the genres. And it doesn't take itself too seriously. It has fun with itself. There's a lot of humor. There's a lot of, there's intense action scenes. I just had a lot of fun with it.
I did too. I think that it's definitely an enjoyable film. That's why I wanted to recommend it for the podcast, obviously.
Sure.
Yeah, yep.
What was your favorite scene?
Favorite scene? You know, I'm going to go a little bit different than what I usually pick. I really like the scene where he first wakes up on Mars and like the gravity and everything is different. And he has a hard time just like walking. I thought that was really like funny in a way that made sense.
That's what I mean. Like, it's just fun.
Yeah, I like where he's like trying to like shuffle his feet because he kept trying to like stand up and he was like too much
Right.
too much force, and so he's like flying around everywhere and shit. And I thought that was like really, really funny and interesting.
That's fun. Before I get to my favorite scene, just kind of coming off of that, I wrote down how it's kind of a lot of Superman parallels.
Yeah.
Superman being on Earth, closer to the sun, imbues his cells, makes it more dense, all that stuff. John Carter being on Mars, different atmospheres, bone densities more than, or what did they say?
Yeah, like the gravity is different, and then they
Yeah.
were like, yeah, because you grew up on Earth, it's the same concept of like you go to the moon and it's the gravity is different, and
yeah.
because your muscles are used to pushing, I don't know, however much you weigh or whatever,
Right.
but I forget what the weight is on the moon, but you would weigh like 80 pounds on the moon,
Right.
you know, so you can shove stuff a lot further just because of that and the lower gravity and stuff. And so same concept. I'm sure they exaggerated a little bit,
Right.
a lot
But,
for
I
the
mean,
film.
It's a movie.
It's a
so-
movie, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's funny that you were talking about that scene, and I just I wrote down something here, and it's just I drew a lot of there's every time I watch movies, it's like, oh, it's like that from that movie and that's from that movie. This was like Time Machine mixed with Star Wars,
Yeah.
mixed with Superman.
It's interesting that you drew the Superman parallel because remember, if I can do a callback to the Man of Steel podcast, which has been a while ago now. Remember the opening of Man of Steel is on Krypton? Remember how I said I want to see a whole movie that was set in Krypton in that cool world,
Right.
and it had like the flying machines that kind of looked like insects and all the other cool stuff.
From Avatar.
From John Carter. Look at the flying ships in John Carter were very reminiscent of kind of what they used in Krypton, where they kind of had like the wings that came
Yeah.
out of them.
The only difference is just these were mechanical and those were
More
creatures.
creature-y looking, more insect looking, but yeah, they were very kind of like similar
Right.
in a way. Like it's a different style, like we said. This is more Old West, and Man of Steel was way more future tech
Right.
than what John Carter was. It's a fun parallel to play with one another,
Yeah.
especially with, like you said, with the Superman parallels of
Right.
John Carter. You know,
Going to Mars.
he's this close to being able to fly like Superman.
Yeah, he
has a
can
lot
leap
has a lot of the same powers as Superman.
Yeah, he can leap tall buildings in a single bound.
It's fun that you came to that same conclusion that I did without us talking about that
That's funny.
beforehand. I like
That's
that.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, my scene, my favorite scene.
Your favorite scene?
Okay, yeah. Forgot where we were. We keep going off
Sidebar
already.
all the time.
My favorite scene is about an hour in. I thought it was getting towards the end, but it's right in the middle. He's escaping with Lola, Willem Dafoe's daughter and the princess.
Sure. Yep.
He jumps off and tells him to go, and the army's coming at him, and he just fucking goes berserker mode. And
Yeah.
jumps and starts swinging and killing bitches.
He
and
takes the whole
he just
like the
fucking
whole
starts taking
fleet
them
of
all.
them out.
Yeah, starts taking them all out, and then last second they come in and start shooting it, and then a bunch of bodies fall on them, and they drag them out and nurse them back. But
Yeah.
there's like a solid 5 minutes where he's just jumping around and slicing people's arms and legs and arms. This is a Disney movie, which I thought I was like, oh, maybe Drew, you want my 3-year-old? You want to come watch it? You want to watch a movie with Dad? And we're sitting there watching, and I'm like, this is fine. And then it gets to that, and I'm like, oh shit, damn.
Well, at least the blood is blue.
Blue, right?
Because, you know, it's
Yeah.
aliens, and all, we've had that discussion ad nauseum. That's how you
Right.
get away with it with the censors.
Yeah.
You make it blue.
Yeah, it really changes it.
Yeah, it does, because then you can have that awesome scene of Taylor Kitsch where he cuts his way out of the blue
Oh, yes.
ape thing, and he comes up and he's covered in the blue blood.
Yeah, Hercules.
And I was like, imagine if that was like red,
right.
gory. Like,
Yeah,
you could
yeah.
never do that. Well, you could, probably, but
animated Hercules when he gets eaten by the Hydra.
yeah.
And then he cuts his neck open, and see, they stole it from Hercules.
Yeah.
Well, Hercules stole it from that because, well, what came first?
Yeah, John Carter, for those who
story.
don't know, is based on a book series that dates back to, what did I say, 1911?
Yeah, 1911.
I think there was like 11 books total
That's
in the
crazy.
series, and so a lot of people attribute it, like different creators and stuff, or like Star Wars and stuff,
Yeah.
are like, no, this is part of the inspiration for what would...
I always knew it was a book. I didn't know there was 11 of them.
Yeah, I didn't know there was that many.
That's crazy.
Either. It's cool.
I wanted to read one, but now if there's 11, you can't get sucked into that.
Yeah. I don't 100% know which one they adapted this from. I thought I told you before we started it was like the 5th book in the series, but I'm sure maybe they did the thing where they pulled from parts from all of them and like mashed it together and made a film out of it.
Which is, it's funny because before we started, I was telling you how it's this and this and this and this and this. This is the 2-hour movie, and it's A New Hope, what did I say? Empire Strikes Back and Jedi all in one.
Yeah.
Like, you can really pick out the parts where it's like, okay, this is A New Hope, break, that could be the end. Okay, this is Strikes Back, and then Return of the Jedi. It's like they could have made a trilogy out of this, and I would have watched every single one.
I think that was clearly the plan. Was that John Carter was supposed to be like the start of a whole series of films that they were going to do.
I would have watched them.
Unfortunately,
I would have watched this one in 3 parts. That was what I'm saying.
Yeah, I kind of have a theory. I don't know how close. When did the first Iron Man film come out?
2008.
2008. So Disney already owned Marvel at this point.
I thought Disney bought Marvel in like 2015 or something. Wasn't it just a couple years ago?
No. It was right around the first time in the Iron Man film.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty recent.
I mean, that is recent.
Well, I mean,
all
like,
things considered,
but
like
a couple years.
No, they've owned him for a spell now. Anyway, where I was going with that one was that this is really close to them buying Marvel, and so you can see the change where like they didn't need John Carter. Like it didn't do good at the box office, so
this was the same year as Avengers.
Yeah, so they can just like toss it, and they did toss it because they have Marvel and all the Marvel films.
That's too bad,
ruling the world. I kind of think that if they didn't, we probably would have got a John Carter too. Like even though it didn't do what it should have at the box office, I think they probably would have stuck with it and did a sequel because it's a good enough film and enough people liked it that you can warrant a sequel, but they didn't have to. And so I know that this movie got people fired that were in charge at Disney as well too, because it lost so much money for them.
So yeah, I feel like if somebody were to pick it up now, somebody go get Taylor Kitsch and be like, hey, let's do John Carter too.
I have made a note. Have you been cheating at my notes here? Where is it? It should be down here at the bottom. Like everything else, John Carter Netflix series could be amazing. I don't know who owns the rights to it anymore. I don't know if they've lapsed. I don't know if Disney still owns it or what. And I know it's kind of a cop-out because, everyone says, well, Netflix should just pick it up. I really do think, like, a Netflix John Carter...
With Taylor Kitsch.
With him, but even without him, you can do it without him.
No, I want Taylor Kitsch.
I want Taylor Kitsch, too, so I'd be okay with that. But wouldn't that be cool? Like, I would...
Yeah, I'd watch it.
I could watch, like, season 1...
I'd watch it, yeah.
Yeah, like all...
With Taylor Kitsch.
Season 1 could be like all on Earth. Like, the beginning part of the film. Like the backstory with his family and what was going on. And like kind of be like an Old West. Maybe have some hints with the guys, who can like change.
Yeah, those guys are
like the bald guys.
Mark Strong.
You betcha.
Yeah, fucking... Okay, I knew Taylor Kitsch was in it, obviously. I had no idea. They're all over the place, but we just mentioned Mark Strong is one of the teleporter guys.
Was he the main one?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So Taylor Kitsch, Mark Strong, Don Stark, in the beginning, he's like the owner of that bar, general store, or whatever. He's the dad from that 70s show.
Yeah.
Donna's dad.
That's cool.
Bryan Cranston.
Bryan Cranston's in it for a spell. I feel like that they were like setting the table for if there's a sequel.
Right.
His character was probably going to be in it more. And they're like, oh, yeah.
He was a skeleton, though, at the end.
Was that Bryan Cranston, the skeleton?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm way fucking wrong on that one. Really? Because I didn't pick up on...
Yeah, because I think they were saying it had been so long on Earth, and he was like stone,
Oh,
when he
sure.
finally got back, and then he said his name, whatever it was, and then he looked over and it was the skeletons in there.
Oh fuck, maybe not. Maybe I'm way wrong on that one.
Yeah, I think Cranston's outie.
I just want more Bryan Cranston, Jeff. Can you fault me for that?
James Purefoy. I love James Purefoy. He plays in A Knight's Tale. He's the king. He's in Solomon Kane, which is a movie I really like. I want to do on here. Solomon Kane is kind of along the same lines as this. It's kind of Solomon Kane. John Carter is their name, but he plays like a pirate who has to fight the devil and redeem his soul and stuff. James Purefoy, I love him. We talked about this in Justice League. Kieran Hins, the guy who played Steppenwolf, is the king of the blue people or the red people or whatever.
We unintentionally do this all the time. Like we keep picking movies that have actors that keep reoccurring. Like I like that. I think that's fun.
William Dafoe
voiced one of the four-armed alien dudes.
Yeah.
Was he the one that only had the one tusk?
No, he was the
No. The leader, the first
yeah.
leader was William Dafoe. Yeah.
And then it took me a while, but I was looking through the cast and it said Dominic West. Dominic West is like in the new Tomb Raider. He plays her dad. He's what's his name? The Punisher. 2008 with not Thomas Jane. Warzone. He plays Jigsaw.
Ray Stevenson?
Yes.
The Ray Stevenson one. Ooh, that'd be a good one we should do.
Dominic West.
He played Jigsaw?
Dominic West is Jigsaw.
Nice.
And Dominic West here is the Red Leader.
Okay.
Red Leader, Star Wars, Red Leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dominic West. Because I saw him, I'm like, I fucking know you. And I couldn't figure it out. And I knew, I had read the list. I'm like, looking for Dominic West still. And I'm looking at this guy, like, he looks familiar. Oh my God, that's him. That was fucking Dominic West. All these fucking people, even like James Purefoy and stuff and Dominic West, who aren't big names, I not to like the general public, I would think, but like to me, I'm like fucking James Purefoy and shit. Yeah, I started looking through the list. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Game of Thrones actor in there. I don't know. Are you a Game of Thrones fan?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
First couple seasons.
The one guy that's like the wildlings when they're on like the other side of the wall, who's like the traitor. The one guy that's like I can't.
Right. I know. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he's in this film
as one of the Red Leader guys.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he's like the main like king dude that is gonna give away his daughter.
That's Kieran Hins.
Yeah. He
was the guy.
Yeah.
And Game of Thrones. Really?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, see,
Jesus Christ.
Learn something new all the time.
Okay.
Yep.
That's crazy. And then even the daughter was, I don't know her name, but she's in
Wolverine Origins.
Wolverine Origins.
That's always what I will recognize her from.
Yeah.
Poor girl.
Yeah. And then, and she did fine. I thought she was cool in this, too.
Yeah, she's good in stuff, too.
Yeah, it's not always their fault. The only thing was, when I first started, I'm like, Taylor Kitsch is really going for it here because I don't know how he was just kind of over exuding himself, you know what I mean? With his voice and stuff. But I'm like, that's not him. That's the director telling him to just go for it.
Yeah.
So that's more of a directing issue. But as soon as I realized that this was more of a playful, having fun with it film, and it wasn't taking itself too seriously, I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah. Funny, you mentioned director. Bunch of kids movies that your kids have probably made you watch ad nauseum. Finding Nemo, Finding Dory, WALL-E, A Bug's Life. This is the guy who directed John Carter.
What?
Yeah, seriously.
Who looked at that and go,
Well, hey. WALL-E is fucking amazing.
I agree. I love all those movies. But who looked at that and went, you're right for John Carter?
Andrew Stanton. He directed 2 episodes of the first season of Stranger Things.
What?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. I had no idea.
Yep.
I felt like this would be more of like, can't think of it. Who would have been like, if not for Andrew Stanton, who would have been the director? I was thinking about somebody earlier. I'm like, this feels like that.
Oh, I don't know. You almost want to peg like Spielberg would be good, or I was thinking more like a James Cameron.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
even though it's not similar to Avatar, but
No,
you can kind of be like, but it's the same
Just that,
style.
yeah. There's something about it that I'm just like, I feel like I've seen something like this before, but I guess I have, just not what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
I felt like, what about halfway through, and because it was Disney and all this other stuff, I'm like, maybe it's Spielberg, maybe this was like a thing. I don't know.
Would have been cool. I would have liked to see
yeah.
Steven Spielberg's take on
But
John Carter.
It was not. So, as we get on to, but that's kind of funny that the director did those Disney movies.
They
because
pulled, they pulled in-house.
Those,
They pulled like in-house.
Oh.
People they know.
Right.
Yeah.
The aliens, though, the four-armed aliens looked like something that I'd seen before, and it was bothering me. And he didn't do Lilo and Stitch, but in Lilo and Stitch, like the Chancellor is like, take away the horns and the four arms, so it's just two arms with no horns. That's the Chancellor from Lilo and Stitch.
Cool. I've never seen Lilo and Stitch.
Okay, it was like this.
Cool.
It's the same face, the same kind of build that those aliens have, and I'm like, that's Lilo and Stitch Chancellor alien thing.
That's interesting.
So I almost wonder, because I'm pretty sure Lilo and Stitch is Disney. So I almost wonder if like they just have a huge catalog and they're like this and this and this and this and put it together.
Yeah. I think they used to
that's
more.
What it looked like.
I think they used to more before they got a hold of Star Wars and Marvel films. Like, I think that now that they've got those two underneath their wing, that was a note that I wrote down, is that there was a string of, like, Disney tried to do their own thing with John Carter, Tron Legacy, Tomorrowland, were, like, 3 examples that I can think of, like, really big budget, ambitious projects that to varying degrees didn't maybe work out the way they had thought.
What was the middle one?
Tron Legacy.
Okay.
Jeff
For sure, I love this, and for sure, I liked Tomorrowland a lot.
I liked all 3 of
I don't know if I've seen Tron Legacy.
Tron Legacy.
Well, is that the one with Garrett Hedlund? Is there 2 Trons?
There's the original Tron
Right,
from the 80s.
the original Tron.
And then Tron Legacy that came out.
Like what? It was
I don't
8?
I don't remember. It was before John Carter, so like probably 2008, 9, somewhere in.
Okay, I think I've seen that then with Garrett Hedlund
Yeah.
as like the main kid
Sure.
and Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
and-
Yep. Yeah, I can't remember the name of the main kid because I don't remember him from anything else other than Tron Legacy. It had the cool Daft Punk soundtrack.
Garrett Hedlund, I think it's him. He's in stuff like Four Brothers and Death Sentence. He's like the main gangster, the bald gangster. And he's kind of all over the place. He would fit perfectly in this cast, like with the James Purefoy and the Taylor Kitsch. Like he just kind of slides in there.
Yeah.
I really like Garrett Hedlund a lot.
So I was on Google Images and I did like a Google image search for Tron Legacy, and it's showing me literally everything that I don't want to see. All Jeff Bridges.
Type in Tron Legacy Garrett. Or, yeah. I think it's Garrett Hedlund.
Yeah,
Because
it is.
maybe I have seen it then.
Yeah, it came up right away. Him.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yep.
Okay, I have seen that then. And then, yeah, I like all those.
Yeah, see what I mean? But like they've just for whatever reason, like I think maybe Tron Legacy probably maybe was the most well received.
Which is weird, because I think I like the other two better.
Yeah, I know, and I just watched Legacy recently, and it wasn't
As good as you
as
remember?
good as what I remembered, because it was real early on. That was one where they tried to de-age Jeff Bridges, and have like the opposite, because there was like he made like a clone of himself within Tron. I don't know why we're talking about Tron right now, but he made like a clone of himself within Tron, and it was like the first time they tried to like digitally de-age someone, and it has not held up well. It really kind of takes you out of the film.
Okay.
Uh,
I don't remember that part.
yeah.
I remember him playing Frisbee or whatever.
Yeah,
Garrett Hedlund. And, like, falling down a bunch. John Carter, though. Back to John Carter. When he first arrives on Mars and he's doing the jumpy thing, and then Willem Dafoe finds him and he's like, don't shoot. And then he finds the hatchlings, and, like, 8 of them don't hatch, and it's like, this is Sparta! And they kill the ones that don't hatch. I'm
pretty
like,
brutal.
Damn! Like, that was in a Disney movie? Like, that kind of stuff. But then they take him back. They take John Carter back.
Virginia.
And, Virginia.
Virginia. That was really funny.
Yeah, I wrote that down.
Yeah, I did too.
Virginia. Yeah, they take him back and they're doing that, and then like they just let all the little hatchlings out. Is that what they call them? Right, hatchlings.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
that works.
and they like just let them all out, and then all the women aliens are like fighting over them and shit, and poor I should have wrote her name down. I think it's Sola. She keeps trying to get one, and the women are being bitches, like punching her and shit and pushing her around. I'm like, okay, I feel bad for her, but then Willem Dafoe's like, let her have one, and everybody's like, oh, fine. But it's funny that none of the aliens kind of understand that father-daughter connection and like why he's always sticking up for her and stuff. Like, it's weird that they don't understand that, but a human instantly is like, oh, that's your daughter. He's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I had wondered about that too, about why that was so
hidden.
Yeah,
why didn't they get
maybe
that?
there's something, I don't know, maybe they don't, I don't really have an answer for that. That was just kind of a question that I have, and I'm being not super familiar with the source material, I don't have an answer for.
Yeah. I don't know, but I liked that whole part where they're bringing first they Sparta those hatchlings that don't live or hatch in time, and then the female aliens are like fighting over them and stuff, and like, I want one. It was just weird. It kind of threw you into their culture, though. It was kind of, for a 2-hour movie, this really explains the aliens' culture, the red team, kind of what's going on with the red team, and then the blue team is just kind of there. But they do a good job building up this, I mean, there is a Mars, but building up this world of Mars that's inhabited between all these different races and the feuds and how they live their lives, and how the aliens are kind of more tribal and doing this, and then it's very much like it's like the Greeks and Romans and stuff like that between the red and blue, and
cowboys, aliens.
Yeah,
you like that movie?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I kind of got vibes Daniel from that
Craig,
a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Daniel Craig and
Or like I said at the very beginning of the podcast, like it tries to take like your traditional kind of Western cowboys and Indians theme and like spin it for like these tribes on Mars and put a little bit of a different take on it just because of the location.
Right.
That's that's kind of what I thought. And also, if you look at this film as what was supposed to be the beginning of like at least a trilogy.
Yeah.
Generally, the first film in the series does what John Carter tried to do, and that's establish the world and establish the characters and everything.
Right.
So that you understand and know it, so that you can come back with a sequel, and you can do, part 2 is you can kick it off right away with more action and more
Empire Strikes Back.
More set piece, because you've established it, and we never really got to...
Yeah,
we never really got to see that, because we never got a sequel.
Because I messaged you after I was done watching it, and I loved the ending. I thought the ending was really
Ending's
cool.
good.
I really enjoyed it.
Ending is good, right?
It was really good. Faking his death and having his nephew come in and like read this. At first, I was like, he said, "Yeah, I filled your head with all those exciting stories, but here's a better one," or something. I thought he was trying to say that like I lied. Here's what really happened. But it's just interesting that he wrote all this down and gave it to him to read. And the whole time, like, Carter's probably just, like, sitting outside the window watching him, like, are you done yet?
Yeah.
But I liked it when he finished reading it and he goes out and they figure out, like, he figures out he calls me Ned. And he opens it and stuff, but then he's not there. And I was like, duh? I had no idea what was going on. I was like, wait a minute. I watch enough movies. I should know. But I got sucked into it. I was like, oh, where is he? And then Mark Strong.
I hope you made that exact sound to yourself in an empty room.
And then one of the... I should have wrote down the names and stuff. I didn't. But one of the...
A lot of the names, to be fair, are alien and hard to pronounce. I get it.
One of the teleporta guys comes up and he's going to stab the nephew, and then he shoots him and stuff, and then he's happy because he gets a new talisman.
Yeah, he got the pendulum that he was looking for. I thought that was a really clever way to go about that he had spent, 10, 15 years?
10 years.
10 years trying to find one, couldn't find one, but he knew that they had to be watching him.
Right.
And so he set this whole thing up as a trap, knowing that he's going to trap one of those motherfuckers and get one so that he can finally get back to Mars.
Right.
And then we're just screwed because there will just never be anything after this ever again.
I wrote, because when he's explaining all that, I said I'd watch a movie of Carter searching for a medallion, Indiana Jones style.
See, that was about the point where I wrote down my thing about the Netflix series, because I was like, yeah, fucking, that's a whole season.
Yeah.
That's 8 episodes of a Netflix series of him, Indiana Jones, and that shit. Yeah,
that'd be awesome,
right? I'm totally on board for that, Jeff. That's a good fucking idea.
We wrote down the same fucking thing.
That's why we podcast.
That's funny.
Together, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, though. I would watch that. I'd watch 8 episodes of him just going around to all these different locations looking for that medallion, going into temples and running out of giant balls.
Especially set in that time period, like the middle to late 1800s.
Yeah.
It's like a fun time period, I think, for films. Especially that, because I don't know, have we ever really seen like an Indiana Jones in that time period?
What, isn't Indiana Jones like the 1930s or something?
Yeah, but that's 1930s. This is like 1860s, 70s.
Oh, I didn't see the time at the beginning.
Yeah.
I missed it.
I thought it was like I thought 1860 was what I remembered seeing up on screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, either way.
I think it would be fun either way too. Did you like the concept of
babies are freaking out upstairs?
Did you like the concept of him being like a clone?
Okay.
Even though that's not really, I don't fully understand it.
Right.
But like, if it sends a copy of himself to Mars.
Yeah.
And if.
Like a copy machine.
Yes. And if a copy, or his real self on Earth dies, his copy will die on Mars too.
Well,
that's why he sets up with himself being in that tomb with his nephew or whatever that has to guard it.
I think it has to be like inflicted though, because he was laying in that cave for decades. Enough for that dude to turn into a skeleton.
Yeah, and he didn't.
So I think it must have to be like physically inflicted for him to die.
Yeah.
Which
the bald-headed guys, I'm assuming, would try to track him down and try to kill him.
Right.
Because he's taken over.
Okay, so here's the thing. When he's in the cave and he kills that guy and he says that bassoon or whatever, takes him to Mars. We can take a guess about how long he's on Mars.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of days to a week, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. You know,
like a week would probably be
like max
an estimate.
Maybe
yeah, I would say like a week.
So how many years went by on Earth in that week on Mars?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because that dude turned into a skeleton, and when he woke up, he was like stone. He was like covered with layers of dust and dirt that hardened. So in the 10 years that it took him to get a new talisman, has it been like a couple of days on Mars? Because if I was that bitch back home, I'd be like, I ain't waiting any fucking longer. Like, he left, whatever.
These are questions I would like answered in the sequel.
Yeah, no shit. I want to know.
Happened.
Because you don't really get a good time frame of how long he's there.
I guess I didn't really think about that. That is a valid point. Like, he
Right?
wasn't on...
Although it couldn't have been that long.
Although maybe you could infer that some time had passed at the end of the film, like when he's on Mars and he's like looking out. You know, he's like looking out and he's like reflecting, and then he throws the medallion.
Right.
You could maybe.
Okay, maybe.
You could maybe infer that some time had passed there. I don't know if that syncs up enough.
I would say.
I guess I really didn't.
Max. I would.
A month?
Yeah, I would guess. Out of no context whatsoever, I would guess at maximum a month. If there's some time at the end there,
yeah.
where after they get married and stuff, maybe. But
Well, let's go back to middle school science class here.
I don't think it's that much.
Middle school science class here for a minute. What's
Okay.
the difference between Earth's rotation and Mars rotation? Like,
I
how
don't
much
think it's
longer
that
is a
much,
year on
though.
Mars? It can't be that much.
I can't imagine. Let's Google it real quick. This
Yeah.
is a,
I
okay,
can-
so
I can kill some
1
time.
year on Earth equals what on Mars?
Because if we're sending people to Mars,
The
eventually,
length of time for Mars to complete one orbit around the sun is about 686 Earth solar days. So 2 years on Earth is 1 year on Mars.
okay.
But because of Mars' orbit, the seasons are not equal length. That doesn't really have anything to do.
That would be indifferent.
So a typical
the
year
story.
on Mars is about 687 Earth days. So about twice as long, but
Sure, that makes sense.
I don't know. I don't see it.
It's a bit of an interesting gap.
Pisses me off. I want to see it. I want to see that sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that this did so bad at the box office? Aside from like if there was this marketing catastrophe.
Well, I think there was a marketing catastrophe. I think that I worked at the theater when the movie came out. We showed it at the theater here in town.
I missed it there too.
Yeah, because I actually wrote John Carter of Mars on the marquee, even though the name of the film is actually John Carter.
Right.
I actually wrote John Carter of Mars on our marquee here in town.
Okay, real quick. At the beginning, with that spinning, that starts out with the sun, and then it spins into like a dial or something
Yeah.
that says John Carter, and then at the end, you get the same exact thing, but then of Mars
John Carter of Mars.
pops up.
This movie should have been marketed as John Carter of Mars because people are stupid, Jeff, and John Carter is too close to Coach Carter. So I'm 100% serious. I worked at a video store. Trust me on this one. People are stupid. That is too close to Coach Carter for a movie that is like a fucking leagues
opera.
apart different here on this.
Right.
They did not do well by just naming the movie
That's fair.
John Carter. I think that was a mistake. I also think I remember part of the marketing is they made a big push that was like, before Star Wars, before Star Trek, the film that inspired it all, the space epic, the blah, blah, blah. Like that, I think they pushed too heavy on that instead of being like, hey, John Carter of Mars, it's cool. You don't need to compare it to Star Wars and everything because it's not. We're not lightsabers, we're not Jedi force pushing shit.
Right.
We're not that. I think that a lot of people perceived it as maybe like a cheaper version of Star Wars.
I can see that for sure.
Yeah. And I also do think, not to knock on Taylor Kitsch, but it lacked... Marvel is really smart when they do their films. They'll at least have like one big known actor like in it. Like even like the first Iron Man film was Robert Downey Jr. that was the beginning of his comeback, and he's a star.
Right.
But they had Jeff Bridges.
And so Terrence Howard.
Yeah, they had other
big
people. John Carter really didn't have. I mean,
Right.
it's got people that you and me
Right.
like,
Yeah.
and like Bryan Cranston,
James Purefoy, Willem Dafoe. I mean,
and William Dafoe is just a voiceover. It's not William. I mean, it's
Right,
William
yeah.
Dafoe, but it's not William.
right.
It's not Green Goblin. William
I
Dafoe.
was expecting to see Willem Dafoe.
Yeah,
And then
instead it's
instead-
voiceover work.
Yeah.
So I think that hurt the film a little bit. Like I think that they maybe, not saying that I want it recast with Tom Cruise because then we get another.
What's a big person that you would throw in here to get people to come to the movie?
I don't offhand.
Yeah,
I don't know.
offhand.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I really.
What if you threw like? Okay, I guess I don't know either. What if you threw instead of Kieran Hins as the king, you put in like Brad Pitt, or what if you make
someone-
Brad Pitt the Red Leader, the guy? the
Okay.
asshole who's gonna marry the
See,
daughter?
now you're on to something. I think.
Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go. Make
because
him the Red
because
Leader.
then you can, instead of trying to advertise the film as like, hey, this inspired Star Wars, you put Brad Pitt.
Right. come see John Carter, Taylor Kitsch, Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Which is funny that Brad Pitt. Have you seen Deadpool 2 yet? Did you go yet?
Not yet. I'm gonna see it when
Okay.
it comes to town, but I've already been spoiled.
Oh, Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt. Yeah.
I was looking through the cast one day, and I was like, "What the fuck, Brad Pitt?" And then we saw it.
Yeah.
I went to it, and then he flashes on the screen for a couple of seconds, and you're like, "Fuck, that's it." But that would have, do the same thing with John Carter. Just put him in that little red leader role,
Yeah.
where he's an asshole for a little bit. You get to see Brad Pitt be an asshole, and then you get more people coming to your movie.
I also think that they may have relied too heavily on just like the spectacle and not so much the action. Like, I think they thought that it would be enough to just show you Mars and show you like a race of green people with 4 arms, and not a lot happened sometimes in the middle of the film. And I think that they thought that people would just be so enamored with the location and the setting that they wouldn't have to do a lot of action. Like, it doesn't follow your traditional, like, summer blockbuster action beats where you've got a lot of, like, every 15 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever, like, big action sequences.
Yeah.
It doesn't really do that. It's a while into the film before you get to...
Well, it's an hour until he goes berserker rage on those aliens.
Exactly. Like, that's an investment that you're asking audiences, especially younger audiences in particular, to sit through before you get to,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. I think that's in part kind of why it didn't work at the box office. That's just my opinion on it.
I wish I had known more. Like, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. This is a fun, good movie. It's just, I don't understand why people don't want to see that. How come this and Tomorrowland and that stuff makes nothing, but then what's
And Tomorrowland is...
how come Chips made $1 million? Why do all these stupid remakes and stuff of 70s TV shows and bullshit? Why does that make all the money? And people bitch about all the remakes and stuff, reboots and stuff. We don't want that. But there's tons of people going to them.
Everyone rags on the Transformer films, and I think for good reason. I think that there's like a pretty severe dip in quality after the first... Like, I'll stand up for the first Transformers film.
Yeah, I like
that would be a fun one to talk about on here.
I like
and then I think that they really do start to dip off.
Yeah.
And then I haven't even seen the one with Mark Wahlberg. I really don't know what happens later on in the franchise. Although the Bumblebee trailer, have you seen the Bumblebee trailer? Because I got some really big, like, Iron Giant vibes from that one.
Because of, I don't know.
You should watch the Bumblebee. No, you should check that one out. That one looks good. But where I was going with that is that those movies always make banker at the box office.
But why?
People go see them, even though we sit here and we're like, oh, fuck those, fuck Michael Bay, I hate those films. They keep getting made because people go see them. John Carter didn't get a sequel because not enough people went out to support it.
Why? Why did people...
Nostalgia.
But everybody bitches about remakes and reboots. You can go online right now and find 27 different threads about people bitching about the remakes and reboots. But then when something cool comes out, or something that hasn't been adapted in 80 years...
Never been adapted. John Carter, I don't think had ever been adapted up to this point.
Oh, okay. So...
I think this is the first movie...
yeah.
I think this is the first movie adaptation of it. Yeah.
And then Tomorrowland, I thought was really cool and original, and I had a lot of fun with it. Mm-hmm. Then nobody goes to see it. That's like, if you want this shit, if you want originality, or you want to see new things, go fucking support it. As I sit here and I just admitted I never went to John Carter. But
well, it happens.
That's
what I say too. I think that everyone needs to support the films that you like, because they're not going to get made if we don't support them. I think we've talked about that on this podcast before, about movies like Cloverfield, like the Netflix Cloverfield film and stuff like that. Like, that will eventually go away if you guys want them to go away, like studios will just, well, you're not. Oh, you think all this is shit?
While we're on that, quit watching Paranormal Activity. Tired of that.
I don't know. I like Paranormal Activity films, Jeff.
Tired of it.
I will debate you on that one. We should have a debate show.
That'd be funny.
Where we just debate.
But that's hard though, because we end up going, okay, I get it.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay, fine. Like your stuff.
I don't remember where I was going, but support shit that you like and fuck Rotten Tomatoes and all that shit. That's my rant.
I like the dog, the puppy thing.
Yeah.
I thought that
there was a little Jar Jar Binks, but not
not even close.
It was a little. I mean, it was borderline. You could be like, this is kind of stupid.
Well,
but
I thought John Carter was stupid because when he first jumps out of there and then he lands on the cliff and there's the dog, and he goes, "How'd you do that?" I'm like, "Dumbass, there's more than one dog."
Yeah.
I'm like, "What are you talking about?" But then it ends up it's like a speed freak.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I guess I'm the idiot. But I don't know. I like and then my favorite scene when he like jumps off to fight all those dudes.
Yeah.
And the dog's like ready to go, and he just go away, dog. Or he says something like, go, and the dog's like, no, dude, I'm ready to bite some fuckers in the neck, and he does it, and it's awesome. I love that dog. What are you looking at?
I was just wondering while you were talking. I wondered how hard the push was, like if they made like John Carter toys. They it's a summer blockbuster. We're really trying to franchise this shit. Like I wonder if like a toy line came out. Like, did they go that far?
Did it?
The ones I seen looked like they might have been maybe like custom stuff.
No.
That doesn't look like your run-of-the-mill like Target.
No, but that's cool though.
Yeah, like that's fucking cool. You know what else this reminded me of? Warcraft. Just in the fact that I'm like the only, other than you, I know you like Warcraft. I'm like the only person that likes Warcraft.
I loved it. I loved that the guy who played the king is in this stupid movie called The Experiment with Adrian Brody and Forrest Whitaker. He just played one of the dumb security guards, and the next time I see him, he's the fucking king. And Warcraft, I'm like, wait a minute, where did you come from?
I've never even played any of the Warcraft games. I haven't. I never really had a PC that's a gaming PC.
Christ.
But I thought that movie was good. I don't know what Rotten Tomatoes says about it, but...
Oh, we should look into Warcraft.
I think we should, because I kind of want to rewatch it, like, soon.
Talking about, like, how this was just playful and had a lot of humor and stuff, I love just John Carter trying to fumble around with the stuff that's made on Mars. Like, when he's trying to figure out how to fly that thing, he's like, what the fuck? And he, like, just messes with it, and then he gets it to
looked up Warcraft. Good Lord, look at that difference.
Don't say it. We'll do it.
We're doing this one, like,
That's
soon.
awesome.
That's a fucking canyon.
when he and then he ends up figuring out how to fly the ship and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I love they're going back to warn the forearm people. They're going back. It's a trap. See?
Yeah.
And there's guys standing guard, and they see the plane coming, and they go to shoot it, and you aim in through the sight, and then it's just the fucking plane going like...
and then they crash.
And then just, I don't know. I thought that was the funniest thing ever. It's so dumb, but I had such a good time with that. And then James Purefoy, he goes in to talk to Taylor Kitsch and stuff, and he's like, so I hear you're pretty aggressive, you're like pretty strong and stuff. And he's like, okay, take me hostage. He's like, are you all right? And then they end up and then he makes that crazy jump to go see her and stuff. And there's just a lot of moments in this, but especially that when he crashes the ship. I don't know why it gave me such a little tickle in my butt. But
that was funny.
It was so fun. Like, they're just getting ready to shoot him, and then it's just...
Did you notice there were a couple moments of kind of inconsistency as to how strong he was?
Yes.
So when they were in the pit and they had him chained up, and he was, like, dead set on, like, pulling it out of that boulder, why wouldn't he just, like, Superman that shit? Remember he was handcuffed, and he just, broke the handcuffs? Like, why wouldn't he just, like, pick up that steel chain and just...
Oh, I was wondering because it looked like it looked like the thing that was stuck in the stone. It was like a nail, and then it had
There was like a loop. I caught that too, and it looked like you could have just like pulled the chain over the fucking loop and pulled it out.
Just pull the chain out.
I thought.
And then he one-punched one of those dudes.
Yeah, it was a little inconsistent.
Yeah.
I thought during that scene, he was gonna use the chain to like jump over top of like the monster thing and like wrap it around its neck.
Oh yeah.
And then I was hoping that he would have like pulled back
Jabba the Hutt.
Jabba the Hutt and like popped the head off or something.
Slave John Carter. He is a slave.
I don't know what kind of weird fantasies you have over there.
I don't know. That X armor thing's pretty hot. He was in, dude. He was in pretty good shape.
He was in, yeah.
I liked it.
This was his franchise, man.
Good looking
so he
guy.
thought.
Good looking guy. And then the ending again. While we're on it, I just wanted to mention how cool I thought that was again.
Yeah,
because it just really ruins now that there's not gonna be any more.
Yeah.
If I can fumble through that sentence. It left me like pumped up and wanting more and so excited, and then you had to politely remind me that it's like, oh, that's the end of it, no more. Like,
no more John Carter.
Fuck!
You'll never know what happened when he went to Mars.
I don't know.
Here's the sad thing. There's probably in someone's desk a script for John Carter 2 and John Carter 3.
Don't say that.
That's completed.
Don't say that. That makes me sad.
So here's my question for you, Jeff.
Okay, in somebody's desk, there's probably a script for Trolls 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, probably. Do you think John Carter will ever get revisited in some form, like whether it be Netflix or Hulu or a
in
film?
our lifetime? I don't know, but for sure, I hope so.
You think it will?
Eventually, yeah. I mean, it took. Okay, I don't want to get in trivia. It took a while for this to get made, and if it doesn't get made or remade or reboot or revisited anything again within our lifetime, I mean, eventually, I think it'll come around.
The rate at which studios blow through IP,
Spider-Man.
that's like an okay example because comics get rebooted all the time. I'm fine with that, but like Kick-Ass. Even though I just said I'm fine with comics, but like the Kick-Ass film that just came out in 2012, they're rebooting.
What?
Yeah, I just read that like the other day on Twitter that like Kick-Ass is getting rebooted.
Why?
That was 100% everyone's reaction. Can't we just do another sequel? If you really want to, like why? So that's why I'm saying I think that John Carter will come back around somehow. I don't know who owns the rights to it or what, but
I wonder if Disney still has it. They've got enough fucking money. Just do it.
Yeah.
Like, be a pal. All right.
Throw it in the MCU. Make John Carter.
I'd quit.
Yeah.
So I asked at the beginning to start thinking about Taylor Kitsch, Marvel or DC. Have you thought about it at all?
I forgot about that question.
Okay.
Since then, because we were talking about John Carter.
Okay.
Do you have any?
Well, I'll do some trivia and
Okay.
we'll come back to it. So start thinking about
Sure.
that. Okay, let's do some trivia. In case I didn't say that already. Trivia. We're doing trivia. The film probably holds the record for the longest time in development hell. 79 years. Pre-production first started in 1931 when Robert Clampett, director of Looney Tunes, we talked about it, Looney Tunes earlier, that's funny, approached author Edgar Rice Burroughs to make an animated feature out of his first book in the series, A Princess of Mars. Had plans gone through, John Carter could have been America's first animated feature, beating Walt Disney's Snow and White and the Seven Dwarfs. It finally left development hell in January 2010 when filming officially started in London. John Carter could have been the first animated film in America.
That would have been interesting.
Pretty interesting, for sure. Financially, we've talked about this. The film was considered one of the largest box office losses in Disney history. Even though the film performed stronger than expected outside the U.S., it contributed to Disney Studio Entertainment Division reporting an $84 million loss in the first quarter of 2012.
Yeah, that's a big chunk of change. That's why people got fired over John Carter.
Such a large loss was attributed to issues with marketing, management changes at the studio, and a lack of merchandising.
Yeah.
normally associated
Yep.
with such a large budget film. As a result, any plans for two sequels that were already in development prior to the film's release were scrapped.
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe, we talked about, he just did the voice role, accepted the role of Taurus Tarkus because he thought it'd be interesting to act while wearing pajamas and walking on stilts.
Oh, so he actually did the motion cap work for it.
Which is funny because I think there's a game that he did some motion cap for too.
Yeah, that was the PlayStation 3 one with Juno chick. What's her name? Ellen Page.
Yeah.
There's an Ellen Page William Dafoe game out there.
Oh man,
Is that the Two Souls?
I can't remember.
Was that? I thought it was something like that.
That's funny though. I just remembered that as I was saying it.
Do the next piece. I'll see if I can find it really quick.
Man. Okay, here's some. Robert Zemeckis turned down the chance.
Oh, Back to the Future. Oh, that would have been awesome.
Robert Zemeckis turned down the chance to direct, saying George already pillaged all of that with the Star Wars films. In other words, most of the best elements of Edgar Rice Burroughs' Mars fantasies had already been borrowed for George Lucas's space operas.
Yeah, I get that.
Which we talked about too. That's a lot.
They reminded me of pod racing a lot too.
Oh yeah.
Even some of the sounds were very similar to like pod racing. Like I get that.
Is it Beyond Two Souls?
It was Beyond Two Souls.
Okay. That's funny.
PlayStation 3, it might be out for PlayStation 4.
I think it is. I think it's on there. The rights to the novels have since reverted back to the Edgar Rice Burroughs estate, which is still game to try to turn the books into a successful movie franchise. They're still down.
So
I'll be John Carter.
Yeah.
I got the hair. I don't know if that's the thing in the book, but that's funny.
So there's a chance that like
chance.
Netflix or someone could take a shot on this.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
For each of the jumps that Taylor Kitsch performed, he performed the jumps. He was attached to a harness that allowed him to free fall at a speed of 80 miles per hour.
Jesus.
That's pretty awesome.
That's terrifying.
We'll just do a couple more here. The film's final budget was about $20 million more than James Cameron spent on Avatar.
Ooh, that hurts.
That's a lot.
That hurts.
That's a lot.
I wonder what the budget for John Carter is compared to like Infinity War.
I'd say it's less than that, but
Do you have
still
the budget
think it's up there.
Do you have
Not in front of me.
John Carter's budget?
I just want to get these last two out. Okay, last three, because that one's pretty interesting too. The first John Carter story by Edgar Rice Burroughs made its debut in 1912 in a magazine serial. Thus, the 2012 feature film marks the 100th anniversary of the character's first appearance. Director Andrew Stanton has already confessed that he isn't too satisfied with how the movie turned out. He confessed that part of the problems came from a first-time live-action director being drunk with power after receiving too much money and creative control. I've heard, that's kind of along the lines of Ben Affleck when he was asked to direct Man of Steel. Ben Affleck was going to direct Man of Steel, but there was too many special effects shots, and he didn't really understand any of that stuff, so he's like, no. Which was maybe good. I love fucking Ben Affleck as a director.
Yeah.
And so does the Academy.
But I get
I
get that if that's not your thing. I think that's part of the reason why like Kevin Smith always talks about why he'll never direct a like Marvel or DC film because that's not what he does. But he's okay with doing like television. He does Flash.
Yeah, he did Supergirl.
Flash and Supergirl and because he's like that's like they have people that come in on those shows that do that, and he can do everything else he's comfortable with. I get that. Although I still think fucking Kevin Smith needs to do a big budget DC film because that would be kick-ass.
Last one here is in the book. Most of the natives were nude. I just wanted to get that out.
Sure,
I think that's pretty funny.
Can't quite do that. So I had asked a question about the budget of the film. $250 million.
Holy cow.
Was what they spent. This is an unfair comparison because that's right. Disney is fucking insane. They filmed Infinity War and the next one is like one big ass production. $1 billion.
Okay.
Okay,
That's
so
not quite.
that
Yeah.
was not an apt comparison. I thought that maybe it would have more in line with a normal budget, but hey, it's Marvel. They can do whatever they want.
Right.
I do have my answer for who I think Taylor Kitsch should play.
Let's hear it.
Do you got one?
No, go ahead. You go 1st
I'm gonna go with Adam Warlock.
Ooh.
I know Adam Warlock's traditionally got blonde hair.
No, I like
but,
that.
I think that we could do. I think Taylor Kitsch would be a good Adam Warlock.
I like that.
Yeah.
I actually wasn't thinking of anything, so just off the top of my head,
Green Arrow.
I would put him in the DC universe for sure. I mean, he did a good job with this, and this is could be like more of a Marvel film. I get that. Mm-hmm. But I'm kind of, even though I love both, I kind of lean towards DC. I'll put him in there. Green Arrow wouldn't be too bad. I don't know if he really fits that though. I'd put him in as like a. I want to say Nightwing, but he's maybe getting a little older for that.
Yeah, see, I was thinking Nightwing in my mind too,
Yeah.
but like in 2012, he could have pulled off Nightwing.
Aaron Taylor Johnson's still my pick for Nightwing.
Yeah.
Um,
God, I want a Nightwing film.
what
What the fuck is DC doing? They're doing like 2 Joker movies
No, I don't
at the
think-
same time now?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I could have swore they're doing like one with Jared Leto and then like a Joker origin story that has nothing to do with. Or like someone else is going to be playing the Joker. Maybe that was just a stupid rumor,
Yeah,
but
it might be.
I swear I don't know what. DC.
Like Ben Affleck isn't Batman anymore.
Yeah, I love DC, but I don't quite know what they're doing all of the time. I want to love them more than I do.
What if he would? Oh no. Still trying to think. Do you want to talk about the Rotten Tomatoes score real quick?
Sure. You got the Rotten Tomatoes? I don't know if I have it on my computer.
Right here. I'm
or
going
not.
to do some thinking real quick.
So I want to start with what I think is important, and that is the audience score was a 60%. And I think that feels about right. 60% of the people that would go in and see it would like it, because it is a little long. You know how I feel about movies over 2 hours in length in general.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can always trim a little bit and you can chop it down a bit, but I think a little more action in the beginning stages of the film would have, I think, maybe helped rise that. Pretty close on critics overall. The critics gave it a 50%. 50-50.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that a lot of that was so much being made of the production woes, the budget. A lot of that falls over into your critics as well, and I think that that's unfair that so much of that baggage ends up in a review score, because in a way, I really don't care how much they spent for John Carter. I really don't care how long that it took them to make the film. When I sit down to review a movie or talk about it on this podcast, I'm just talking about the film that we're presented with. I really don't.
How dare you?
Yeah, like I really don't care what they didn't spend. What did I say for the budget? $260 million. That wasn't my money.
Damn.
That was, like they didn't spend.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, like that.
They weren't spending my money.
They weren't spending my money. Like I don't care what they spent with this. I'm just judging it on the film itself, and I
Right.
like the film itself, and I wish more critics would take that into account. Like
Yeah.
everything beforehand really don't or shouldn't have to do with the film itself.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think so anyway.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Do the number one thing you think they did right? What's the top tippy top thing?
The number one thing they did
sticks
right
out.
was it was a really interesting world and universe, and like once they got on Mars and you start like diving into it, like that's a place that I want to spend time, and I was like really interested in all of it, all the mythology, all of the everything. I thought was interesting, and I want to know more, and I want to spend more time in that universe. And,
Yeah.
I think that that's really what they nailed.
Yeah, I like. I mean, aside from the world building, all that stuff, but I just like the story. It really makes me want
Yeah.
to go back and read the books. I like this kind of. It's hard to explain. Right now, there's only one thing that kind of comes to mind is I talk about on the show a lot. Time Machine. Guy Pearce, his wife dies. He wants to go back in time and change it. But there's this thing with fate and things happen for a reason. He goes back and tries to save her, and she dies again. Until finally he goes back so far and he meets kind of these. Now he's like on Mars and he meets these natives on. And at the end, same with John Carter, he's just decides to stay. He wants to stay.
Yeah.
And I just love that dynamic of, The Last Samurai. There's this really great line in that. Someone asked Tom Cruise why he's going to fight with the samurai, and this fantastic line. I love this. It says, because they come to destroy what I have come to love. And that's kind of the same thing I get with John Carter, Time Machines, and all that kind of thing. And I love that dynamic. I think that's a really interesting story arc. And so when I saw this in John Carter, that's probably the main thing why I like it so much. It's just that story and that line. I like that line. Comes to mind right away from this. Any final thoughts? Anything you want to say about John Carter? Anything you want to plug?
I think, again, with pretty much everything that we talk about, you should watch this movie. I think that's why we do this, is to try to encourage people to watch movies that they wouldn't otherwise do. Because you're right, sometimes you need that extra push of, for us doing this show, has got me to watch a lot of stuff that I wouldn't have sat down in my free time to either rewatch again or discover for the first time. And I think that John Carter is only a couple years old in the grander scheme of films, and so it holds up incredibly well. There's only one or two shots where the special effects are it's aged a little poorly.
I said the CGI is pretty awesome.
They spent money.
There's a lot of CGI.
yeah, it's not like they wasted that budget.
No,
that budget went to some really pretty good special effects. And I think it's worth watching. It's worth revisiting or visiting for the first time and checking out.
Just forget what you've been told or what you've heard. Just quit listening to everybody else. Just give it a chance. If you want to see it, just fucking see it.
You know where this movie would get legs finally? If Disney ever does their streaming service that's been rumored for a while, like their Netflix one, where there's a lot of people that buy it because, hey, you've got kids and you know your kids can watch it, and then you'll float through and see what else is on there.
Right.
I think people would eventually stumble upon John Carter in the library.
I wonder if this has been on Netflix at all.
I don't know if it's ever been on Netflix or what.
Because I think that would be a good place for it to go. That would have made me watch it sooner if I would have turned on Netflix.
I bet this would be one where that kind of atmosphere, you would see this would have an 80%.
Exactly, because if I had just turned on Netflix one day and it said recently added John Carter. Oh, I've been wanting to watch that.
Taylor Kitsch, I like him. I'll watch that.
Exactly. Click. I would have watched it a lot sooner.
Yeah.
Maybe it has been. Maybe it was.
I know it's not on there currently because anytime we do a show, the first thing I check is Netflix and Hulu to see if I can watch it on my computer instead of DVD. But
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's been on there or not, but I definitely would have watched it sooner.
I don't know. I think it's a good film.
Yeah,
I'll stand by that.
I went into it thinking that I was gonna like it already. I'm like, this is all the makings of stuff that I like. I'll enjoy it. I came away with being really surprised with how much I did like it.
Yeah,
I like it a lot more than I thought I would, and a lot of that is like I talked about the story, all these actors. And just they did well with it. There's a lot of CGI. It's fun. Like I said, I started watching it with my daughter because it is Disney and there's a lot of humor and stuff like that. There is those parts where he just goes berserk on all those aliens and stuff. But it's like you said, it's so blue blood. I mean, it's not it's not showing too much.
Someone gets ripped apart, but it's a shadow in the background.
Right.
So you don't. Yeah.
But I mean, it's just a good, fun, good time film.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think people would have a lot of fun with it.
Yep.
I really enjoyed it. Shut Up, I Like This. You can find us on PantheonNetwork.com. of course, every week. Audio, all the videos. You can email us. You can find our shirts, all that kind of stuff on there. PantheonNetwork.com. Of course, you can watch us. If you are watching us on YouTube, thank you. And check us out. Look at us. And if you're listening, thank you for listening. Kyle?
That we've been talking forever.
Nothing?
That'll do. That'll do, Pony
That'll
Boy.
do, pig. Real quick, I am going to upload those 2 episodes of the trivia show. Hopefully I can get some more different people in here. So look for those this week. I'd say by the end of the week, I'll get those up there. And then I'm about a decade and a half behind, but I just finished the first season of Deadwood.
Oh.
HBO series, old Timothy Oliphant and fucking Ian McShane are at each other's throats. Good shit. I'm ashamed that I didn't watch it earlier. So yeah, decade and a half late, but check out Deadwood.
I've been watching the Scream TV series that was originally on MTV, and it's total fucking trash. It's total trash, but you keep watching it. It's like one of those shows where you as you're watching it, you recognize this is basically garbage that I'm watching. But I kind of recommend it in a strange.
You just said it was garbage.
Yeah, but I also can't stop watching it, and I'm on season 2.
Wow.
So you should check out this garbage.
Wow. Wow. All right. Well, I think that's gonna do it. Do you have any? Should we throw out something for next week? Do we have anything planned?
Do you want to do Warcraft?
You want to do Warcraft?
We were just talking about it.
Let's do Warcraft.
Okay.
So yeah, next week we will do Warcraft.
Awesome.
So look forward to that. Like I said earlier, thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week. Toodles.